You guys enjoy your long weekend? Yeah?
I can't remember it.
You can't remember? Alright. We're going to start today by watching a video. I want you to pay attention to what the video is showing you. I want you to put yourself in the place of the worker. That should be your mental frame for the day. You are the worker. Okay?
You may think that these scavenging jobs, cigaring, collecting, mudlarking, bone picking, were the worst. And sure, they were terrible, but they weren't the poorest. Below them were the very worst jobs. Because the really destitute ended up here, in the workhouse. There were workhouses before the Victorian period, but the Victorians took them a stage further. The new Poor Laws of 1834 made them even nastier than they had been. The whole point about the workhouse was that the jobs you did there had to be worse than anything outside. Even so, in the 1850s, there were 200,000 people in workhouses all over the country. For these people, this was about as low as you could go. Once in, it was very difficult to get out. Men were separated from women, able-bodied from those less fit. And all the jobs were intended to punish you for being poor. So the first job was what?
First job is stone breaking. Pretty nasty.
Archetypal punishment job, isn't it?
It really is, yes.
I can't imagine that they would have had these in the
We had
workhouse.
those at the time, no.
So, what do I have to do? Just hit the stone?
You've got to hit that and you've got to break it into really, really small pieces because the stone would have been used for mending roads.
Right. Not to do anything really, it just smokes.
No, keep going.
Wouldn't everybody have had to do this job?
No, not everybody. It was such an awful job.
Hey!
That only the casuals and tramps were given that.
Oh, I can understand that. They wouldn't want you to stay very long, would they?
No. They would have done this for a day.
Day?
Yeah, just for one day's work.
And what would they get for having done it?
Well, they'd get a bed for the night and a meal. Whew.
They small enough?
You need to get them all about this size
Why is that?
because you've got to pass them through a mesh in the wall, a metal mesh in the wall of the stone breaking cell.
Why is that?
They've got to be small enough to be able to use in road building. And if you couldn't get them through the mesh, then you had to break it again.
So, I've got to get all this lot that size.
Yeah.
Right. I think I've got the hang of this now. What's next?
Next is open looking. Over here.
What's oakum, Des, and how do you pick it?
Well, to start with, you've got a bit of rope or cable that you then have to break up right the way down. This is a piece of rope, and you're breaking it down into the strands.
Yeah.
And then having got the strand, you break it right down into the yarn, and then you've got to break that yarn down into the actual fibres of the hemp.
So what's the oakum?
Well, the oakum is the raw fibre. It's sort of the unmaking of the old rope.
Oh, what's the point of it? What happens to this?
Because then it goes back to the shipyards and to the vessels where it's rolled together to form a thin sausage that is then banged into the joints in the planking to stop it leaking.
Who are the people who did this?
Well, able-bodied inmates in the workhouse that have been given this job to do, but their fingers just used to bleed at the end of a couple of hours of doing this.
When you first start doing this, it seems pretty easy. It's money for old rope. But the more that you have to get your fingers into these tiny, plugged up little threads, the harder it gets, and it cuts in to your fingers and your thumbs. And a bit like that, which looks like you could do in no time at all, by the time you've pulled it out into its constituent parts, there's just loads and loads and loads of it. And if you'd have been having to produce pounds of this stuff a day, you'd have had to be going for hour after hour. I suppose the thing about this job is that if you were in a workhouse, you had to do it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you had to do whatever jobs they gave you. You had no choice in the matter.
So in a way, however awful some of the other jobs were, at least it was your choice, but here they took away your dignity.
They did indeed, yeah. And some of the jobs that they had to do were so bad, like this. This was given to workhouse inmates to do, but they didn't necessarily give it to prisoners in countries' jails to do.
You're not picking very fast.
I was thinking just
Please, no room for thinking. You don't come to the workhouse to think, you come to the workhouse to work.
Yes.
All right. So again, think about that job, that life. Is that something you would want to do? Think about your hands. What do they say about their hands? Do they get deformed? They start bleeding. Imagine looking at your hands now. How soft are your fingertips? After working there all day, how coarse and beat up would your fingertips be? How many days did you have to do that? 6 days a week. All right, so let's look at this. After watching this video, how could capitalism lead to the abuse of workers? So let's think about this. Last week, we talked about socialism and capitalism. What was capitalism all about?
Making money.
Making a lot of money. So think about that. How could capitalism lead to the abuse of workers? What do you think?
If the workers aren't making enough money fast enough, they could be forced to work harder, faster.
Yeah. And think of it from the owner's perspective. Yeah.
Because it's like they don't really care about the working conditions, they just wanna make that money.
They just want that money. They don't care how the conditions are. They don't care how their workers are. So think of it in this sense. Imagine you came into this classroom every day, and all I said was, sit down, here's a packet, get to work. I need you to be done by the end of class. How many of you would enjoy this class? Okay. How many of you enjoy the class where we sit down, we discuss things, I show you things, show you some videos, and then I do gotta get some work out of you. But at least you have been entertained for the most part. You learned something. A little bit better, right? That is the difference. That's where the factory life comes into play. Today, you're gonna learn all about the factory life. You're gonna be the factory worker, the employee. And you're gonna learn how it was for these people. The learning target today is I can explain the conditions of factory life. Your skill is the document I handed out to you. It's a SHE, all right? It's source analysis. We're gonna have a little bit of a lecture. It's gonna be real small. Then you're gonna get into the activity. And then you'll have, at the end, what? What do we have at the end? Field paragraph, that's right. Okay. So, factory life. In the video we watched earlier today, we were able to get a better understanding of how life was like in the factory system. Let's discuss these two questions. How are the conditions of the factory conducive to danger? Now look at that word conducive. What color is it? So what do we know about it? It's a vocab word, but listen, it's not on your vocab list because it's not a history exclusive word. It's not a unit exclusive, but I want you to understand what conducive means. Does anybody have an idea what conducive means? Let's take the word conducive out. Let's look at what's left. How are the conditions in the factory blank to danger? What would you put in there? Prone. Very good. What else?
Open.
Huh?
Open.
Open. Leaves it open to danger. Okay. Clea, you got it? No? Clifton, you got something you can put in there?
Considered.
Huh?
Considered. Maybe.
Not considered, but how about lead to?
Yeah.
Okay? So conducive means prone, another word is prone or lead to, but it means attributing to, okay? Factory conditions in danger, there's something that they're almost together on. Did the workers have a say when it came to safety in the factories? What do you think? No, because all the factories were worried about was what? Making money. All right, so today, you are going to take part in active source analysis. We've done close reading. You can do some close reading today, but we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to make it more theatrical, more of a production. All right, Ruby, you move forward, please. Thank you. Each of you at least has one partner, if not two. So the tables with two partners, you're gonna do this as a triad. Tables with only two, you'll do it as partners. This is what's gonna happen. Go ahead and look at the document. Pick up the document. You'll notice document A and B are in the same format, correct? Okay. You'll notice there's a question and an answer. Question and an answer. So this is how this will be. In your groups, right now, you're gonna assign 3 roles, if you're a group of 3. The third person's gonna be called a recorder. What I need you to do is, if you're that third person, we're gonna talk about it in a minute. So right now, take a minute, if you're a group of 3, decide who's gonna be the questioner, the answerer, and the recorder. All right, go ahead, take a minute. Put your hands up. All right, who's the recorder for you guys? All right, stand up. I need you to go get a piece of paper, hurry it. Go get a piece of paper. Yep, if you're the recorder, go get a piece of paper. Let's go, let's go. All right. Now, if you're the recorder, I want you to turn to the third page. You're going to notice for every document there's some questions. You need to listen to what's being said, and you need to just jot down the answers you think they are. Okay? So turn to the third page. Look at the questions. And as you're listening to your partners talk, try to answer the questions. All right? Any questions on that? Do we have that? All right, show of hands. Who is the questioner for your group? Put your hand up. All right, here we go. Document A. I'm going to read this top, and then we will start. Michael Ward was a doctor in Manchester for 30 years. He practiced, treated several children who worked in Manchester factories. He was interviewed about the health of textile factory workers on March 25th, 1819, by the House of Lords Committee. The exchange below is an excerpt from the interview. All right, from here on out, it'll be on you guys. So questioner asked, answer, answer. Questioner asked, answer, answer. All right, go. Questioner, answer. On you go.
The children's hands and arms having been caught in the machinery in many instances. Of those deployed, they are really nurseries of disease.
The state of health of all these factory children is much worse than that of a child.
To send a finger to Michael Ross. Last summer I visited Lever Street School. The number of children at that time in the school who were employed in factories was 106. The number of children who had received education from machinery amounted to
In many instances, the muscles and the skin were stripped down to the bone, and in some instances, a finger or two might be lost.
All right. When you are done, All of you go to your third page, and now within your group, recorder, help answer the questions. For those that read, help the recorder answer the questions. So answer the
Children's
questions.
heads and arms have been being caught in machinery. Many instances must have also been down to the bone.
Who was the questioner in the first round? Raise your hand. All right, listen carefully. We're going to change roles. Questioner now will be the answer. Who was the answer in the first round? You will now be the recorder. Who was the recorder in the first round will now be the questioner. All right, if you're a group of two, you're just switching roles. Okay? I want you to look at the questions for document B when we start. How is the source information for this document similar and different from document A? What evidence does Dr. Holm use to back his claim about the health of children in factories? Do you think it was convincing? Why might it matter that Mr. Pooley asked Dr. Holm to examine the children at his factory? And which document, A or B, do you think is more trustworthy? Why? All right, let's go. Switch it up and go. Who starts now? Any questions? Right.
Okay, sourcing your collaboration. How was the sourcing document A?
No, the children's hands and arms having been caught in the machinery. In many instances, the muscles and the skin
and of the persons examined in 1796, 22 were found to be of delicate appearances for 401 persons. And the person
They were in good health generally, like able to form rather a favorable opinion of the health of persons employed in factories. Have you had any
Ordinary employees.
Yes. Who applied to you to examine in 1796, 22 were found to be of delicate appearances? Two.
All right, when you're done, as a group, answer those questions. What do you think is more trustworthy? Why C?
Because it's because Bain.
Bruno, can you help him out?
Because it's as a worker's point of view.
As a first-hand account, right?
I can't.
In a worker's point of view. All right. Now, what I want you to do is I want you in your groups to discuss this question. Do you think that English textile factories were bad for the health of working class families? You're going to write your teal paragraph to answer that question using the info you got from your documents. Okay? Again, for the next 4 minutes, I want you to discuss this and then start writing. Come up with some ideas. Debate each other, talk to each other, have conversation. All right? Corroborate, collaborate, do it all. Go ahead. You got a few minutes, start talking.
That is.
When you're ready to write, there's a box on the back of the packet you can write on and take a picture and submit it, or you can do it in Google Docs.
That happened in document A, right?
Yeah.
Start time.
Yeah, number 5.
It's B because it takes the side of the factor.
I mean, there's still
The battery? Bad. Is it bad?
Tripping.